We're back. Can you believe it? For a second episode. Welcome to the Screen Devotees. I'm Laura.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Greg.
And we are three opinionated baby boomers who have a passion for all things streaming, whether they be streaming series or movies. And we have lots of opinions. I said we were opinionated, so I guess that does mean we have lots of opinions. And I do want to say, as a disclaimer, one of our listeners last time pointed out that he wasn't prepared for our spoilers. So I do want to say at the outset, there will be spoilers galore on this broadcast and every broadcast. If you want a summary of a movie or a show that is streaming, go to IMDb. Go to your favorite search engine and look it up on your own, because that is not what we do here. We will not summarize the shows for you. We will tell you what we think. This podcast is for people who have seen something and are just bursting to talk to their besties about it, because that's what we do. We are besties that will sit together and just tell you exactly what we think of many of the shows and the movies that are currently streaming today. And we do take suggestions, by the way. I do want to just say before we get started that this podcast is available on my newsletter, where you can offer suggestions, and on Spotify, where you can also contact us and give us suggestions of any particular series or film you want to talk about. But we're not going to talk about that just yet, because we've got to talk about the Oscars. We promised people we would talk about the Oscars. It's been a week. It feels like it's been a month. So let's just bust out our feedback about the 96th Oscars Academy Award ceremony. What a glorious opening montage. First of all, we'll start with that. We'll do it in chronological order. What did you think of that opening montage? By the way, it started 5 minutes late, which concerned me a bit. I was a little bit on edge that it was 5 minutes before things even got going, but the montage made up for it, in my opinion. What were your thoughts?
Okay, well, honestly, I was with a bunch of people watching it, and we kind of missed that opening montage. So I'm going to hand that over to Greg.
Oh, you really missed it.
Can I be honest? I was passed out for like the first 40 minutes because I had fallen and broken my foot, and I was kind of out of it for just the very first part of it.
So listeners, this is something that will happen when you talk to your besties about things that you've seen on TV. One person will have been passed out on pain medication, and another person will be like, oh, I missed it because I was hanging out with some very noisy, chatty people. I, however, was sitting at home with my dog, because I'm an old spinster who does shit
and your
like
notebook.
That. And my Remarkable 2 tablet, by the way, not a sponsor of this podcast, but yes. And I took 8 pages of notes. Don't worry, I'll edit it. Okay, so the opening montage was lovely. I'll just leave it at that. It was very well edited. It was very thoughtful. If you get a chance to go back and see it, you can always rerun it. But all right, let's just jump ahead to the host, Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Jimmy Kimmel, as we know, was setting himself up for some blowback, because the last few times he's hosted any award ceremony, he's gotten blowback, and all of the commercials and trailers for the Oscars were basically him talking about how people are going to have shit to say. So what did you think of him as a host?
Okay, so I thought he was he's a pretty safe host, and I think you really need a safe host for that hosting duty for the Academy Awards. I don't really think he's that funny. I thought he had some good lines, some that fell flat. I really liked that he read Trump's tweet on air, which was very spur of the moment, very spontaneous and funny. I wish they'd get someone like Catherine O'Hara to host, or he's just very, very middle America, kind of corny, not too funny. That's my take on Jimmy Kimmel. But he did a fine job.
You know what? It's such a long ceremony. It seems like having one host is just really too much to carry off. I think they should kind of break it up into segments. Maybe have like 2 or 3 different hosts.
Well, isn't that what they did a couple of years ago? I forget which one. Somebody will remind me, I'm sure, but I forget which one. But it was one of the years post-pandemic where they had like a rotation of hosts. And yeah, I think they should definitely go back to that. I'm going to come out and say I really don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I think all of the bad feedback he gets is well deserved. I don't think he's funny. I think he's funnier on his show than he is
Yeah.
hosting the Oscars. And like I wrote in my notes, I wrote, why talk about people's looks? Why talk about people's pasts? And why talk about politics? Which were like in his opening monologue, those were three things that he brought up that I'm just like, there are so many other funny things you can say that have nothing to do with that. He was making cracks about some celebrity's appearance. He was talking about Robert Downey Jr. and his past. And
Oh
like
yeah,
we
that
all
was
we all know about this. Like, so just stop.
yeah.
Like just leave the man alone. He's trying to make a life for himself now, and his
He was a good
career.
sport though, Robert
He
Downey
he
Jr.
he was, but I wish I could remember what he said. Jimmy Kimmel said something about Emma Stone, and the camera cut to her, and she wasn't smiling or laughing, but she turned to her husband and was like making a face like, what the fuck was that? Like, I would have died to have known what she said. And then, of course, he had to bring up politics. And so that's all I have to say about him. But he wasn't as offensive as he would. Like the time that Quinta Brunson had to step over him when he was lying on the stage, I don't know if that was.
Oh,
That wasn't the Oscars. That was during I think the Emmys or the Golden Globe. I think the Golden Globes or something. And I'm like, that's not funny, you jackass. Well, don't like. Fine if you want to lay on the stage, but don't steal her moment. But he didn't do anything like that. And I did like when he read Trump's tweet. Like that kind of redeemed him for me. I don't know, Greg. What did you think?
Yeah, I really enjoy him more in his show. I think he's too uptight during the award ceremonies. I just doesn't seem to come off funny, and I think they need to find different hosts, definitely. So that's
They need. I think you're right. I think they need to go back to Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. They need to go back to women hosts because I think
yes,
women just do a better job. Like nothing
yes.
against the men, but I just think they do a better job at hosting.
I think Catherine O'Hara would be perfect when she came out and they were doing the makeup.
Yes.
They were doing the award for makeup. She was so funny, and she's such a natural, and she would have been perfect. Someone like that.
She would have been perfect, but you never know.
We
Like
need a Canadian.
she well, I don't know
Is
what
she
some people would
Canadian?
say
I
about
don't
that.
know.
Yeah, I think she is. But well, she's from the second city. But I think well, anyway, I think moving on to the new format for announcing the nominees. Let's
Oh,
talk about
yes.
that.
Okay. Yes, let's.
I at first really did not love that. I'm like, what? Because one of the things I look forward to with the Oscars is seeing the little clips
The
that they.
clips. Where were the clips? No
Well,
clips.
so instead they get
They had
former
clips to
winners
clips.
that do sort of like a
tribute.
Toastmasters freaking, like it's like somebody's wedding reception where people get up and make a toast. It's like like why, first of all, why put them through that?
And it was like it was like each person, each celebrity was almost like backing that person, like they were endorsing that person.
Right.
It
And
was
it was
very
weird.
weird.
It
Yeah.
was,
I would feel so cheated if I was that actor or actress up for the nomination and had to, you want that clip out so everyone could see
yeah.
it too.
And what if you were nominated and like a crappy person was in charge of your little speech about you?
Right.
Like it was,
Yeah.
I don't know. I who knows? But anyway, yeah, I wasn't in love with that, and I doubt they're going to do it again. Okay, so let's move on to because we could talk all day about that. Let's move on to the big awards. All right, Best Supporting Actress.
Yes.
I thought it was so sweet when I keep calling him Jim Halpert. It was Emily Blunt's husband,
Right. Yes, I know what you
John
mean.
Krasinski,
John
who
Krasinski.
took her hand when she was nominated. She was so good. Oh my God! Speaking of the people who, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, but I already put the thought out there. I was so embarrassed that I forgot that Rita Moreno is still alive. I
Yeah, we
thought she
said the
died.
same
She
thing.
died.
We said the same
She
thing.
She
did.
didn't die. She was live. She was on the show. I was thinking, well, here's the thing.
Oh no,
I was
Cheetah Rivera died.
Peter Rivera, and like, well, of course, and that now, what kind of a jackass does that make me look like? Like I'm confusing them. But
But she had a
wasn't,
Cheetah Rivera hairstyle.
I wasn't confusing them. I was confusing her with another member of of a PBS show that died. I think it's the Sesame Street guy died, and I thought she died too. I don't know, but I'm like, Rita Moreno, she's okay. Well, thank God. I was very happy to see that she was okay.
She looked great too.
She did look great. Here's the thing about Best Supporting Actress, and I love when I hope I'm saying her name right, Divine Joy Randolph, when she won and Paul Giamatti walked her to the stage. I thought that was just such a beautiful moment. Yeah. And now I will say, and I'm happy for her. She was not my pick for Best Supporting Actress.
I hated that movie.
I not only did not like that movie.
I did too, but I knew she was going to win.
Yeah, everyone.
Why? Why did everybody think she was going to win? She didn't even know how to smoke properly.
She's winning everywhere. It was a given. Yeah,
she's a fine actress, but I just don't think she was the best in this field. End of story. No. I think she's a very fine actress. I really like her. I would see her again. But there were two things that she did in The Holdovers that just took me out of the scene. One is, again, the smoking. And this is something, and Beth, you can relate because if you don't mind, I'm going to out you as a former smoker.
Oh, yeah.
As many people in our generation are former smokers.
I was a smoker too.
And there you go. We're
you couldn't attend high school unless you smoked.
Exactly. It was a rule. You had to be a smoker, otherwise you'd be ostracized in the 70s and some of the 80s. The thing is that when somebody is smoking a cigarette and they're not a smoker, which is, they shouldn't be. I'm proud of her that she's not a smoker, but if they don't do it right and it looks fake,
exactly,
it takes me out of the scene.
Watch an old movie.
Right. It's something about where the cigarette is placed between the fingers, and she was doing this.
Yeah.
And that bothered me. But the other thing that bothered me was every once in a while, this weird Bostonian accent would come in. It wasn't consistent and it wasn't accurate. And it was like, why do it at all? Why do you need to have a Boston accent at all?
Well,
Go. Say it.
On Asian films, they actually have people who train people how to smoke.
Yeah, they do. And she even said, she even said, I don't know if she said it, she didn't say it at the awards, but she said it in some interview. She said they sent her, months before they started shooting, they sent her a carton of herbal cigarettes to practice. And I'm like, well, did you practice with a smoker? Like what, or did you just hold it like a, piece of candy? Because
she needed to watch a couple of Betty Davis movies. You know why I think she won also is because that movie, I think it was mostly about her character. It evoked a lot of sympathy. Sorry about the spoiler, but her son has been killed in Vietnam. So there was all of that pathos mixed into her character. And, the Academy just eats that shit up. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot of, if you're somebody who's from the Northeast and lived in a city, and like I never lived in Boston, but I know a lot of people who are from Boston. My ex-brother-in-law, my niece's stepfather, is from Boston, and he's a person of color, and just the whole division between the wealthy kids who attended that school and her being a person of color on living in that or her family lived in that apartment that was like the very top floor of that building, and they carry the luggage, the whole, and all this other stuff like that whole piece of it. And yes, and her son being killed. Like there was a lot about her character that was represented on screen that was really significant. But still, I don't like the smoking. I'm sorry, I don't like the smoke. But it was a tough field. It really was.
Well, and she was in a lot of scenes, so I think more than some of the other nominees. I think that has a lot to do with it. If we talk about Best Actress, I think that's why Emma Stone won, because she was in more scenes. She was in almost every scene of the movie.
Right.
And Lily Gladstone, and I am a Glad stan, let me tell you. But Lily Gladstone, she wasn't in the movie a lot. She was great in every scene she was in.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that, just because I have to go back to when Viola Davis won her first supporting actress Oscar when she was in the adaptation of that play. Hold on, I'll think of it. But anyway, she was in one scene. She was in one scene, one whole
Right.
scene.
Well, look at
Western.
Judi Dench. Judi Dench in
Yeah.
Shakespeare in Love. She was in
Yeah,
3 minutes, I think.
but that was that year. I think it was such a bad field. I think they were
Oh
like just
yeah.
desperate. They had to find somebody. Anyway, well, okay. So as far as screen time, I think it's a good argument, Beth. But I don't know if that's true in this case. I don't. Who knows what the Academy thinks, because for all the reasons that you gave just now, aside from the screen time, Lily Gladstone should have won Best Actress, but she didn't, and that was the big upset. And that was just,
But you
you
got to
know,
admit, though, Emma Stone was great.
Emma
I thought she
Stone.
was.
Like I can't even, like, I really can't even Doubt. That was the name of the film. Doubt was such a great film that Viola Davis was in. She was so good. That was the first time I had ever seen her on screen. And the whole whenever she cries in a film, that one nostril runs, and I'm like, that's, to me, that is great acting.
That is acting.
That is acting. Not to go off on a tangent about Viola Davis, but she's one of my top three
You
actresses.
have command of your nostrils.
Ugh, I mean, it's really,
And what
but it's
comes
just
out of
so
them.
it's so authentic. That,
Yes.
anyway, she was great. All right, but you know what, Divine Joy Randolph, love that for you. Good for her, and good for her. And you know what? She's got a great career ahead of her, and she's got a great pedigree, great career behind her. I didn't know that she had
Yeah.
performed on the West End, so shame on me for not knowing that. And she worked very hard to get to where she is. So I think maybe that was a piece of it too. It was really, it was really cool to see Sean Lennon pick up
Yeah.
the award for the short film that was based on War is Over, and say Happy Mother's Day to his mom,
Yes,
to
to
Yoko.
Yoko. Yes,
That was a lovely moment.
that was. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I have lots more to say. But anything else specific you want to talk about before we get to the other big awards?
Um, yeah, well, not really about the awards, but I did like how two factions of movie industry people were recognized: the stunt people, which
Yes.
they
Yes.
really ought to have an award for stunts, and also all the people behind the scenes
Yeah.
who came out, who put the whole Oscars ceremony together. They were recognized. So I thought that was really good, pro-union. Um,
Yes.
so that was a nice touch. Well done, Oscars.
Yeah, they really needed to do that, especially since it was a strike year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Yeah, oh, God.
recognize that.
What a tough year, and to come back so strong. And I think that's why they really had to pull out all the stops for this year's Oscars. I think because of that. Um, yeah, and we're still recovering from that strike. But yeah, that was great. I was thinking the same thing, that there should be an award for stunt person, but it's like, how do you determine who's the best stunt person? Number one, and number two, there's so much is done with
Like
effects.
you would determine anything.
Like,
Let the
who's
stunt.
who's
Special
not
effects
dead? 'Cause,
Yeah,
it's such a dangerous
it is.
profession,
Yeah.
and you can't be in it very long. I mean, I know stunt people, and it's like it's like being a pro athlete. Like, your career is very short, because you get so banged up,
And
and
would Tom Cruise be nominated because he does all his own stunts?
no, I don't know, probably. Anyway, that's a slippery slope, but I think they should be recognized in some way. And like you
Yeah.
said, I do think it is a big deal that they recognize them. And then the fact that they're going to have an award, I think, starting next year for casting, which I think is great,
Oh, that's
which is,
great.
really fabulous. I do want to talk for a minute, just a little. We'll get back to award winners, but I do want to talk about looks, red carpet looks,
Yes,
because
the looks.
there were some looks that I can't stop thinking about. First of all, and then I remember the last couple of years there was a whole lot of, a lot of talk about how men have started coming to the Oscars in suits without a tie, with their shirts open and their chest showing, and is that appropriate? And now you have so many women, because for decades the Oscars for the women were about wearing a gown, and who's got the best gown, and then you had so many women who were coming in suits.
Justine Treat.
I cannot stop thinking, you guys. I cannot stop thinking about Justine Treat's suit.
Loved it.
Here's the thing.
I loved it.
When I saw her suit, I was like, that can't be a designer suit. And I started Googling it, and I did a Google image search, because I'm like, who is the designer? Who in God's name put this thing together? It didn't fit right. It was bedazzled, and I could have sworn it looked to me like she had gotten it from, there's a store in France called the Monoprix. The Monoprix is like a miniature version of Target. The first floor is a supermarket, and on the second floor, it's like housewares and super cheap ass clothing. You can buy in France. This is good to know for either of you. If you go to Paris, you can buy a 12 euro dress that's decent. That you could wear to the office. Like, it's a decent looking sundress. And I'm like, she had to have bought this on the second floor of a Monoprix, because it just doesn't look professional. So I find out that it was a Louis Vuitton. I'm like, Louis Vuitton, what? It was so ill-fitting, and the stripes, the bedazzled stripes were crooked, and I'm like, it must have been off the rack. It must have been Louis Vuitton that was spelled differently that she got at a thrift shop. I'm sorry.
She paid extra for that.
I think the slouchy look is it's very popular now, wearing bigger pants, bigger suits, and I she's a film director. I thought it was appropriate. I thought she looked cool.
I loved it, but I'm like, I love it the way.
But yeah, Louis Vuitton looked like H&M. Yeah.
Right. It looked like something that, like, I'm like, did her daughter make that in sewing class? Was that done by a grad student in a freshman year costumes class? Like, it didn't look like it was sewn right, but it still looks good on her. I'm not ragging on her. She looked great, but I was when she walked up to get her award, I was like, did no one help her? Did no one advise her? Did she not have a stylist? She must have. Okay, anyway, Justine Triet, you will never listen to this podcast, but if you do and you heard me, I just want you to know that I think you are a brilliant director, and you can give me that suit if you don't want it anymore, because I'll wear it, but I would have to cuff the legs for sure. Anyway, on the flip side, I also cannot stop thinking, in a good way, about Billie Eilish's outfit. Billie Eilish had a Chanel outfit that was very, Beth does, I can tell by Beth's face, she did not like that. She looked like she had sort of like a 60s schoolgirl with the bobby socks and the plaid skirt and the, you didn't like it. Well, you know that
she's been dressing like that for a while.
Yeah.
So I think for the Oscars, let's do something a little fresher. I know that's her style.
Right. Well, she deliberately wears non-form fitting clothes. That's her signature.
That's fine.
For good reason. And I stand behind her desire to do that. But
Sure.
I just thought that, like, the shorter skirt and the emphasis on the accoutrement. I just thought it was cute. And she kind of looked like a little bit of a Barbie. She kind of just like Billie Eilish Barbie.
Yeah. She is very cute, and I loved her shout out to her vocal teacher, her music teacher,
who didn't like her very much. And I was like, yes, let's hear it for the teachers who didn't like you very much, but were really good at their jobs.
That's right.
Right. And I just love that she always thanks her parents, her and her brother, and it's nice to see her maturing. She doesn't sound like a 15-year-old anymore. Because she's 22 now. She's the ripe old age of 22.
Yes, and she's gotten the most Oscars for music, I believe. The age of 22.
Yeah. I know, but she really knocked it out of the park with her singing. She really did a great job. So that was my thumbs up, thumbs down for clothing. But okay, well, speaking of costumes, how did Barbie not win Best Costumes? Wow. And this,
what did win Best Costume?
shit. I'll tell you in a second. I forgot. I
Yeah,
know.
I'll
I
look
think
it
it was.
up.
I think it
'Cause I
was.
know
No. I think it was.
Killers of the...
I think it was Poor Things.
Was it Poor Things or
Oh,
was it Oppenheimer?
If Oppenheimer won, I would remember because that would just make no fucking sense at
here,
all.
I'm looking it up right now.
Uh-huh.
But like, no, it was Poor Things. Yeah, because
It
because the
was.
Poor Things costume designer. Here's how I remember the Poor
They were
Things
great.
costume designer. They were a little weird, but still,
They're
I mean,
very...
the amount of work that went into those Barbie costumes, and they were so spot on. But I do
Yeah,
remember when she
true.
came up to get her award, she had evil eye earrings, and I just thought that was great. Anyway,
I missed
okay.
that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have one here. Well, you can't. Those listening to the podcast can't see this, but I have. I don't know if can you see.
Oh,
It's
wow.
this is
What?
an Armenian or the Eastern European evil eye. You see these? They sell these in the Armenian
Oh,
market
yeah.
a lot. And so she had it's this blue stone, and she had these, but like enormous, like the size of coasters, one on each ear. And I thought,
I
well,
want it. I
well
want
done,
those.
sweetie, well done, because you know that evil eye is you definitely need that when you're in Hollywood. That is for sure. Yeah, it was very weird. I really was. I would have lost on that one. Yeah, so it was a tough call for best makeup, best production design. A lot of good contenders there. Loved the live performance by the Osage tribal singers and
Yes.
drummers, and just a
Very
moment of
moving.
like a rest in peace to Robbie Robertson, who was the musical supervisor on that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too bad he didn't live to see that. Yeah, but that was a great. I think all of the best song nominees were good, except that one song that I had never heard of, which we won't have to talk about. But and then of course, I'm Just Ken.
I'm Just Ken.
Mm.
The melding of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend
That's
with
right.
I'm Just Ken.
I thought
Well,
that was the
It was,
best song, but you knew it wasn't going to win.
yeah, it was really there just for effect. I was thinking of Material Girl, which of course is a ripoff of
which is real
Diamonds Are
about right,
yeah,
right.
Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. But of course I think of Madonna. But
And it was
and
live. He was singing live. It
he was.
wasn't lip syncing,
Yeah,
singing.
and dancing. Well, as we
And
know
then,
from La La
it's just
Land, that he's a
great.
great dancer, and the Busby Berkeley tribute with the faces, with the
Yes,
Barbie faces,
yes.
which I heard that they only got to rehearse. I think that the faces props only came like a day or two before the
Wow.
broadcast, and they only rehearsed with everything a couple of times.
Wow.
They had 5 rehearsals total, and I think they
They were
only had like
great.
1 or 2. Just people who are not in show business just don't appreciate what goes into the preparation for these shows, which brings me to editors not getting enough credit. And that's the thing is that people often get up and go to the bathroom or make themselves another drink when they announce best editor, but the editors really are the ones who the directors direct the action
Right.
on screen, but the way the audience sees it is really the work of the editor because they're the
Editors
one.
are editors are like the bass players of the cinema
They really
world.
are. They're the
You know,
rhythm section. The editors and the cinematographers are like the bass and the
yeah,
drums.
yeah. No, I love a good edited film, and you can tell when something is wonderfully edited.
Yeah, you can.
If it's not edited correctly, boy, you can sure tell too.
Right. And
Well,
it's
that's
no
the
wonder
thing.
that directors stick with the same editors time and time again. I look at Scorsese and Thelma Schoonmaker.
Yeah, and although he didn't, of course, she didn't work on Killers of the Flower Moon, but Spike Lee worked with the same editor. Yeah, that's because it's it's like working with the musicians who work with the same producers. It was the Oppenheimer, by the way, if you're wondering who got best editor, the Oppenheimer editor. But speaking of Oppenheimer, not to take anything away from the editor who won for best, but I just was reminded. I really had no idea that Christopher Nolan doesn't own a cell phone and doesn't use email.
What a freak.
Which I think is interesting. Like, how do people reach him? How did they send him contracts to sign?
He has assistants.
That's what it is.
Lots of assistants, and he's probably lying.
Yeah, probably. But it sounds good. It's good press. Jennifer LaMay was the one who won for best editing, and good for her. Good to see a woman win best editor.
Yes.
So some of the things that were not awards related that kind of bugged me. I didn't like the twins reunion with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I checked out on that. I think I went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That just distracted from the whole show.
No comment. Something about Batman. I don't know.
Right, like it wasn't funny and it was kind of pointless. And of course I liked the streaker reference up until John Cena was asked to come out in the buff. Like, we didn't need to see that.
No.
Well, just what's the point? Like, I think that the apology for it is that they were trying to flip the script on women being judged on their bodies, but like that didn't land at all. That joke did not land. It went over everybody's head.
And it was for best costumes.
Right.
They referenced the 1974 streaker when David Niven was introducing Liz Taylor, which was very funny because when that happened, and I remember I was watching that with my parents back in 1974 when that streaker came on, which streaking was a big thing in the 70s. And David Niven said, and I wrote this down, he said, "Isn't it fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping off his clothes and showing his shortcomings."
Like, how do you think of that off the top of your head? I mean, just
because he's David Niven.
Because he's David fucking Niven, and they don't make him like that anymore.
It was planned.
Yeah,
it was all.
Maybe it was because they did have security back then. But nevertheless, I loved the reference because it's part of Oscar hit. Well, whether it is or not, we can't answer that today. But it is part of Oscar's history, and I love that they brought that up. I didn't feel they needed to follow that with this dumb trope, a stupid bit that wasn't funny for anyone involved. And the funniest thing that came out of that was later on Instagram, this one queer influencer that I follow, who kind of looks for some what do they call them, microaggressions, anti-LGBTQ microaggressions in our culture, said it's not rainbow flags in your child's classroom that's turning your child gay. It's this. It's seeing John Cena come out almost naked. That's turning your child gay, which he said as a joke, but it really is true. It's like, how come that's okay? Anyway, well, I swore we wouldn't get into politics.
Well, I don't want to body shame John Cena.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not about body shaming. But
he's just so freakishly muscled up, and it was just
a good choice.
Very uncomfortable to watch.
Well, I thought,
I have to say,
and I thought the lesbians would all be into his Birkenstock.
Well, the Birkenstocks were so stupid. Well, first of all, I am not one to speak for queer women of the world, but I happen to think that Birkenstocks are hideous, and I've never owned a pair and never will. So there you go. But then again, what do I know? And look at Beth, the ally that she is rocking those Birkenstocks. The reason they whoever they are said, people from the Oscars said that the reason he wore Birkenstocks was to give a sort of a nod to the Barbie movie. Because remember when Weird and again, something that
that's
didn't
really
land.
Stretching it.
That is a stretch.
Yeah, that didn't.
But when Barbie goes to see Weird Barbie to talk about how to get through the portal, and she offers her, pick one or the other, she has the pump heel in one hand and the Birkenstock in the other, and she's like, no, you have to pick this one. So I guess he was either going to wear Birkenstocks rather, or high heels, and that would have just pissed off, I don't know, other people.
He should have worn
Anyway,
Crocs.
he should have worn Crocs. It should have been somebody else. It should have been someone with like a normal body, not normal, but like an average looking body, I should say, so that everyone could relate to him, not just the muscly guys. Anyway,
it should have been Paul Giamatti.
It should. No, Paul Giamatti he's too busy with he had his in and out cufflinks on, and he couldn't take them off.
Or Al Pacino. He could have done it instead
Madonna
of announcing
mia.
the best picture.
Okay, so please, whoever's in charge of this kind of thing, please promise me we're not going to make him do that again. We're not going to make Al Pacino announce that, I guess it's Oppenheimer. I guess.
My eyes see
No.
Oppenheimer.
They actually told him not to read the nominees. He could only read.
They did.
Yeah, so we can't blame him for that. So.
But this is the way he did it, like it was a mistake. It was like, okay, all right, Grandpa. I mean, I don't know.
You know what? I actually liked it. I thought it was to the point. You know, let's get these octogenarian actors now to just give out the awards and just open up the envelope, just say the winner. That's it.
It should be for everyone. We'll get Rita Moreno next year if she's still around.
Streamline it.
I guess it's this girl over here. Best actress. I don't know what the hell. Yeah, there was some weirdness about it. Anyway,
it was. Yeah,
it was.
I think to kind of roll toward the last few big awards. I love that Robert Downey Jr. got it for Best Supporting Actor. I think he was far and away the best candidate, even though the others were really good. I recently saw American Fiction. Finally got to see that.
I saw it last night.
And Sterling K. Brown, just phenomenal. But again, like you said, Beth, not enough screen time. But like I said before, I think I said this on the last podcast, that the thing about Robert Downey Jr. was, to me, that really sold his performance was the fact that he was unrecognizable as himself, that he became the character so convincingly that you would forget it was him.
Yeah.
And that, I thought, and it was very, it was as passionate, if not more passionate, a performance than Cillian Murphy's, who I know you love, Beth, and he was good. It's St. Patrick's Day. I can't say anything bad about him. Cillian Murphy. We shan't say nothing bad about our Irish actress today. But, and he was good. He was good. But anyways, I just thought that Robert Downey Jr., well deserved. And holy shit, like friggin'...
Oh, speaking of American Fiction, getting back to the Oscars, Cord Jefferson, who wrote it, I loved his speech.
Speech was great.
Speech was great. It was all about, risk-averse executives, and instead of risking $200 million on one movie, let's risk 10 or 15 million on a dozen movies.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's an example of how to make the most of your very limited time when receiving an award, because everyone does the same thing. They go up and they thank their assistant and their mom, their dad, their publicist, and then they start playing the music to play them off. But it's like you just say thank you. Everyone knows they're included, and then you use that as a platform to make a pitch. However, I will say, unfortunately, that as great as that was that he did it, and as well-meaning as he was, I don't think that's going to happen in Hollywood, because I think that it's all about economics, and that's what the strike was about. The strike was about the fact that you have a lot of people at the top, non-creatives at the top, who run these studios, and now that there's so much streaming, like for example, what this may sound like I'm going off topic, but I'm not. I don't mean to. Amazon Prime Video, with all the money that Amazon has, and all the money we pay for our Prime subscriptions, and then on top of it, we have to pay again to stream a movie. I got to pay $20 to stream a freaking movie. I'm already paying for Amazon Prime, and you're like, you've more money than God. Like, what's, you think it's just about the economics of it. And I think that these studios are only interested in making money, and they're not going to make these smaller films that are bigger risks, because They want to save that money for stupid shit like Ricky Stinicky or whatever the name of the, like the films that I see that are available to stream now that are just.
Can I mention something I would like to lobby for that will never happen? That they kind
Go
of
for it.
split off the best pictures into the superstars and into smaller pictures. Because there's movies like Past Lives. I love that picture.
Oh my God.
You know it's never going to win Best Picture against the big stars.
Exactly, or like All of Us Strangers, which I saw recently.
Why can't they have like a second level category for the smaller pictures, superstar pictures in another category?
I guess do it by budget, but that's the
big
thing
budget and
the thing
medium.
is that there's a whole lot of legal reasons why they can't do that, and I'm not in a position to speak on that because I don't really know what they are, but I do know that there's I think that's a great suggestion. I think it's a great, but Greg, as someone who worked with the law, that in terms of contracts, like they can't really divulge what they paid certain actors, which may have had an impact on the budget.
Yeah, but they divulge what their budget is for the entire movie. So why not? They can do whatever the hell they want. They can create a different category.
Well, see, that's what I think that the counter argument, just to play devil's advocate, I think the counter argument is that's what ceremonies like the film festivals are for. Film festivals are for, that's what they'll counter with. No, I agree with you. I think there should be, but then, and that may be, who knows, that may be a reason why The Holdovers of all films was in the best picture category. Like, to me, and I'll say it again, I don't think it was a bad film. It was a nice film, but I think it was a very safe film. So why did you take the smallest budget film and the safest film? Because they would never take a film that is really risky, that is really provocative. They wouldn't take a film like, and I'm just throwing a title out there, like a Shiva Baby. Like Shiva Baby, which is an independent film.
Or Woman on Fire. Or
right, yeah, like something that's like really, gonna, like...
But you know what I think is interesting? The best special effects movie that won, which I'm dying to see, Godzilla Plus One, they made that movie for $15 million. $15 million.
Wow.
And it won Best Special Effects.
Yep. First Godzilla to win an Oscar.
That scares me a little bit.
And they all have little Godzillas.
Yeah, they did. That was very cute. But that scares me a little bit because it's like, it's like what you can do with technology now is it's almost scary how much you can do for so little. And that's what frightens me. So 15 million is a tiny budget.
Yeah.
Has a very small budget because they're all using software. It's all CGI. It's all special effects. It's all, that's why there's a very real fear that...
What do you think a $200 million movie, though? That's also using special effects, computer-generated special effects.
But it's also using real live actors. It's also using a crew. It's like that money goes to pay people, human beings who put the film together. And that's my argument, is that they're taking jobs away. And I know we hate using that argument, is taking jobs away, but it really is, and it scares me because it's taking away the human, creative, artistic component of films, and that's why a big piece of the strike had to do with AI writing screenplays. Right. That's why, like just for fun, when ChatGPT came out and Midjourney, I was playing around with these tools and see, like, can I make, like, what kind of paintings can I make with these? And it scared me how real they looked. And I'm like, shit, an artist's going to be wiped off the face of the earth, and this is going to be true for filmmaking as well, and for music and a lot of the arts. So I don't know, but yay, good for them that they won. Best Actor, Cillian Murphy. Mm-hmm. Do we think he deserved it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd give it to him, definitely.
You'd give it to him. Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright was okay. I love him.
I like him, but I don't think he was great.
Yeah, I liked him so much better in other films. I think it was one of those nominations where, there's always a nominee who is like maybe not the best choice, but is the nominee that should have gotten it a long time ago. He's one of those. He should have gotten it a long time ago, so we'll nominate him now. But not for that film. By the way, I love the fact that Erica Alexander was in it, because I loved her since Livin' Single back in the 80s, and it's nice to see her on the screen. She was very good.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti was playing Paul Giamatti. Like, I don't know.
And every time I see him too, he looks like my ex-husband. Honestly.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, Beth, but I think your ex-husband was better looking. And he was, I don't know. And he was taller. He was much taller. And let's be fair, Paul Giamatti did wear a contact lens, which I didn't know that he did.
Yes. But Nicolas Cage would have done the same thing.
He would have. And I'm so glad you said that out loud.
Yes.
That was funny. That was one of the good introductions.
I love Nicolas Cage. You got to watch Dream Scenario. He was very good in it.
When did that come out?
This year or last year.
It's on Max right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched it the other night. It's where everybody in the world is having dreams, and Nicolas Cage is in all of them.
Am I forgetting anybody from Best?
And that's the premise of the movie. And he becomes very famous at first, and then things take a turn.
Are we losing you, Laura?
Yeah, Laura, I can't hear you or see you.
Hold on.
She's not here.
I am here. I am here.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
You're back. You're like a ghost in Feud, in Capote's Women, coming back.
Oh, this is dreadful. Let me make you a cocktail. Is it really you? Why can't we talk about that?
Oh, we need more time.
Beautiful babe.
We do, and it's already 47 minutes in.
I know.
Was there a live show? Was there a Lifetime Achievement Award this Oscars?
No.
Was it?
Okay.
No, and
I didn't think so.
And can I also say
they gave it out ahead of time. They gave it out
ahead of time. And can I also say I was very disappointed with the in memoriam section. The
oh my God! It was
section was a grave, pardon my pun, a grave disappointment.
And they skipped Treat Williams.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Did they?
They omitted him. Yes.
Those motherfuckers.
Unless I couldn't see it because the writing was so tiny.
No, I could have sworn I saw him. But yeah, well, first of all, like, whose idea was it to do like a far shot, a super long shot of the screen show, the slideshow rather. Yeah. It's supposed to be a close up. I think the SAG Awards did a much better job. Golden Globes and but the one for the SAG Awards was really beautiful and just the right length. That was, I think John Legend did the song for that. But yeah, it was such disappointment, and the names, they rotated through names so quickly. Like, I know it's a lot of people, but and then ended it with something at the bottom of the screen saying to see more in memoriam segments, go to this website. Well, if you're gonna do that, then maybe have like the I don't know, like the publicist or the agent that no one ever heard of, like, apologies to their families, like, but
or the ad exec,
right, yeah, the associate producer from the 1930s, like, yes, their life was just as important as any actor, but it's also to honor the people on the screen. That most people
and show clips of their famous film, or something.
But no, not like the worst
imaginable. See Andrea Bocelli or whatever singing with his son and people dancing around.
It was awful. It was very, very poorly handled, and I think if you're gonna do it, you really have to be organized about it. It looked like it was thrown together, and it was really a letdown. So Emma Stone, well deserved for Poor Things, not only because of her screen time, but also because of the fact that the trajectory of her character, and this is the thing that I think was so important. Even though, to be fair, Lily Gladstone did play a woman who was dying of being slowly poisoned, and that was no easy feat, and spoke a lot in the Osage language. Those were two things that really impressed me. I think her career is just getting started, and I think she's gonna get an Oscar. The day will come. And she even said in an interview recently, she said, sometimes Sterling Harjo from Reservation Dogs, the creator of Reservation Dogs, said to her, sometimes when you get a nomination or something like this, an honor like this, it's like you're opening a door, but you have to hold it open for others. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to be the one to hold it open, not necessarily walk through it. And she's like, I get that. And so she seems to be taking it well. I think with Emma Stone, Emma Stone has had a longer film career, and I think this is like her portrayal was a career maker, and to portray this character from essentially infancy, when she first had the transplant, spoiler alert, through the point where she becomes a doctor. Plus, I just loved that film so much. I loved how she ends it. Bella ends it living her best life. She ends it sitting, having a cocktail with her husband and her girlfriend and a French bulldog with a duck's tail. Like, these are all the things, like, what else could you want from life? That was it was such a beautiful film. It was so beautifully done. And I think she just, and she did it with a little bit of humor, which is something I love about Emma Stone, is that all of her roles, she doesn't ever completely leave this little sense of humor, that little sort of smirking at herself, which I think is important. She doesn't take herself too seriously. I don't know, your thoughts?
And I think she always picks very interesting roles. She's not looking for the romantic lead in a movie. She's not, a glamour girl. I didn't love Poor Things. I didn't hate it, but I had some problems with it. I didn't like the use of the fisheye lens a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I thought it was a bit male gazy, and I thought that a lot of the scenes in the brothel could have been cut. I would have liked for her to, when that man was with her and brought his sons in to show them what to do with a woman, I think she could have said a little bit more. It was, and then I think with all of the sex scenes with men, I think that when they gave us that one scene with the woman, her friend from the brothel, I thought that was kind of like just giving us a bone, like.
Yeah.
What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I have to agree. It's films are so hard. They're so male orientated. It seems like so often. It's a shame. It really is a shame.
Well, it is a male director, so and if you've seen any of Yorgos's films before, you know that's kind of what he does.
Well, he always deals with awakening curiosity of carnal things, which is fine. I love Dog Teeth. That was the first movie I ever saw of his. I thought it was brilliant, and it was twisted, and there was a lot of sex in it and a lot of nudity, and I thought it was actually better than Poor Things. Poor Things to me was lovely to look at. The costumes, the sets. I love Mark Ruffalo. I loved all the actors. I thought, Willem Dafoe is great. Yeah, he was very over the top, twirling his mustache.
I loved
Mark
every
Ruffalo.
time Willem Dafoe burped. I loved that.
Oh yes.
that was like a treat. Hey baby.
It wasn't a perfect film. I didn't find it 100% enjoyable. I had problems with it. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, I went into the film, I had heard a lot of the reviews, a lot of the reactions. I try not to read critics' reviews, but if I'm going to see a film, I always read the fan reviews on Letterboxd, because they're usually funnier and more to the point, and they don't hold back. And there was a lot of reaction to just the amount of sex in the film and the eroticism, and I just feel like anybody who has a problem with that, you got to ask yourself what your problem is. I think it actually was like, and I went into the film preparing to be offended, and I wasn't. I felt like it was enough. It was enough to kind of show how she was able to experience the sexual act without a lot of society's trappings. So that and I think the reason that, this is just my, opinion, and you can differ, but I think the reason they showed her having the sex with the clients and then having the sex with the other call girl, whoever she was, prostitute, was kind of showing the difference between how she experienced, like it was very clear in her mind that, I am doing this for money because I do not have money and I need it, and that's what I'm doing this for. And then with the other prostitute, that was much more about the enjoyment and the intimacy of it. It kind of showed that differentiation.
Because the woman was pleasing her, but I mean, she had a lot of pleasure with the men too,
right? But
especially in the beginning, I just thought that the brothel scenes, it was just a little too male gazy.
It was.
And I don't have a problem with sex in cinema at all.
Let it be known.
But like I said, his first, Lathamo's, his first movie had a lot of sex in it, and a lot of twisted sex, incestual sex, and I thought it was a great movie.
Well, I'll have to see. So I have to see that film to kind of have something to compare it to. But
very disturbing.
Yeah, movie. I don't know if I want to see it now. I don't know. I don't like films that are disturbing for the sake of being disturbing. But a lot of things can be disturbing. You never know what you're going to find disturbing. It's a very subjective thing. Anyway, well, I don't know. Maybe it was male gazing. Maybe if I saw it again, I don't know. I just was having so much fun watching Emma Stone play that character. It was just so much fun to see her evolve as a human being.
She was great.
And I just loved the scenes with Gerard Carmichael on the boat. He was the companion, the very jaded companion to the elderly woman. I'm like, that's the life I want. I want to just live on a cruise ship with a snarky companion, and meet someone like Bella and give her life advice. That seems so great. Anyway, Oppenheimer won Best Picture. We all knew it was going to happen. We all saw it coming for so many reasons. Why do you think that film won? Do you think it really was the Best Picture?
I think more Academy members saw it. They're the ones that are voting. And because it swept all the other awards.
Well, they all get the DVDs. They all get screeners. So,
yeah.
Do they actually watch them? We don't know. What do you think, Greg? Do you think it deserved it?
Yeah, they liked
I don't think it deserved it.
It was a long movie. They liked the long, sweeping movies.
God damn it! It's not the '80s. Come on now.
That's what they.
Every movie now is 2.5 hours long. What is this?
It's excruciating.
I don't know. Are the voters all over 90 years old by now? I don't know what the age of the members are.
No, it's actually you'd be surprised how diverse the group is.
Anyone in the Screen Actors Guild gets.
No, not the Screen Actors, the Academy. But
the Academy.
It could be like, there are people from all different jobs. It's not just producers. It's people. Cinematographers and crew people, and but do they? Yeah, exactly. Do they watch it? Yeah,
it's a lot of executives, and I think they just vote the way their friends are voting. Just
voted for people they know.
It's very meaningless as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
As my grandfather used to say about the Kentucky Derby, it's not a betting race. Not a betting race because it's not. It's not really fair. It's not like I think I always enjoy the Golden Globes a lot more, even though there's far more awards. There's all the TV awards. But speaking of that, well, I think this is a good place to end our discussion of the Oscars. It was quite something. It was a great year for film, though. I will conclude by saying, for me, that I thought what I liked about it was that it was the first year in a very long time that I saw almost all of the nominees for Best Picture. The only one I didn't see was Zone of Interest, which I still haven't seen. But I saw all the other films, and I saw a lot of the other nominees, and I think it was a good showing. It was quite a good field of nominations. What are your parting words about the Oscars of 2024, Greg?
Well, I'm just glad they're over, frankly.
Oh.
And we're going to move on, hopefully, to a better year next year, I'm hoping. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Beth?
You kind of went out, so I didn't hear the question.
The question is, what are your parting thoughts about the 2024 Oscars?
Oh, I already forgot them.
Okay. Well, good.
I mean, it could have used more, maybe more punching. I don't know.
I know we had no scandals. We didn't have
No
it.
scandal, I know.
Except for like my icy Oppenheimer. Other than that, and John Cena in the buff almost. Yeah, it really was like we
Yeah.
needed somebody to get slapped in the face, somebody to
Yeah.
throw a pie, or I don't know. We needed a little drama, but it was so safe. We promised everyone that we would conclude with a recommendation, and then our next episode for sure we will talk about some streaming TV shows that we
Yes.
really loved
Yes.
because there are so
Yeah.
many. But
There are.
what would you like to recommend to the listeners at home?
Okay, very briefly, a movie I saw a few days ago. It's called Sisu, Sisu. It came out in 22. It is a Finnish movie. It takes place in Finland at the end of World War II, and one lone prospector goes up against a bunch of Nazis, and it is gloriously violent and satisfying, and it's always great to see Nazis getting killed. So I will highly recommend it. It's full of action. Oh, and there's some kick-ass women in it too. And it is streaming on Stars, or you can rent it from Prime.
Oh, good.
Thanks Amazon for not letting us get it for free. But
Okay,
that's my recommendation for the week.
Sisu. Okay, thank you for that recommendation. And Greg, anything from you?
Yeah, Rotting in the Sun, 2023 film. It's on Movie Now. Hilarious. Warning, much adult male nudity, as it starts out basically at a gay male nude beach. So probably don't want to watch it when the kids are around or something. But
why not?
It's about a social media celebrity, Jordan Firstman, and director Sebastian Silva. They're both actually in the film. They play altered versions of themselves. It's a wild, hilarious journey in Mexico City. But actually, the whole film stealer is the housemaid, and it is hilarious. And I'd recommend watching it if you have the chance.
Yeah, that's definitely on my watch list.
Say the title again.
Rotting in the Sun.
Rotting in the Sun. How can you forget that? Okay.
Can I say something about gay male nudity on screen?
Why not? Anything goes here.
First of all, I love it. I watched All of Us Strangers the other night, and
did you love it?
I loved it, and there's a beautiful, tender sex scene when they first have sex. Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal, I think, played the guy, and it was so hot. And I turned to my husband John and said, "How come gay sex scenes are so much hotter than heterosexual ones?" And it's true.
I'm so glad you saw
What was his answer to that?
Or I don't know. I think he grunted or something.
I think he reckoned he's been married to you long enough
He
to know
might have
that
he might have fallen asleep. I don't know.
he knows when you're asking a rhetorical question. That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they seem to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, even the men, and also with women. Well, they've gotten better. Yeah, I don't know.
When I see heterosexual sex scenes, I'm like, ew.
I can't imagine.
They look.
I know it's a lot of grunting.
They just look so forced, and I don't know, not real, not authentic.
It's because they're wearing the funny underwear, and they're they got the intimacy coordinator, and
Right.
it's just like doing your job. It's like being a barista. It's tough. I don't know if I could do that. Like if I was a professional actor, whenever I think to myself, oh, I wish I could have gone professional, I'm like, no, I would not have wanted to do a sex scene. I would have been too shy.
And why does every heterosexual sex scene involves the man pushing the woman onto a piece of furniture and then stripping her on the
I
furniture?
guess that's a fantasy that a lot of straight people have. I don't know. You're asking me.
Happens
You're
all the
asking the
time.
wrong crowd
Okay.
here. You're asking us for. I don't
But I
know.
see stuff like that and I'm just like, oh God,
Ouch.
the back must hurt.
Yeah, exactly. That
And
is.
he's got to stand up and his back must hurt.
Oh
And
my God.
all right, I'm going to stop
All right, we're
talking.
good. Well, that reminds me. Put a pin in this, but we have to talk about. There was one sex scene in True Detective in
Oh my God, with Jody
with
and the
Jody that I have to talk about
and
on
the
our next
book.
episode. Just because I'm like Jody's in her 60s, and I'm like, girl, how'd you do that?
Oh my
Do you work
God,
with
she
a
looks so great in
personal
that
trainer?
bra.
I don't know. Real quick, the one film I'm going to recommend, you two probably, it's likely that you've seen it, but I've been recommending this to people who, Ryan Gosling has gotten a lot of positive feedback about his portrayal of Ken, and he did a great job, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to see him in an anti-Ken role, in the opposite of Ken, I really recommend. My favorite performance of his is in Half Nelson. Half Nelson is an independent film from the early aughts. Now, this is, keep in mind, this is
Great.
after, he was a child actor. He was on the Mickey Mouse Club. He had this
Yeah.
child actor career. And then for him to do a role like this, all I will tell you about it is that it's about an inner city middle school teacher who is addicted to crack cocaine.
Yeah.
And when I first saw it, I saw it in the theaters. And when I first saw it, I was already working as a teacher. And I was like, this is the kind of teacher movies we need to see. Not always the one, the teacher who's like the inspirational person who children stand up on desks and, or Paul Giamatti. They need to see teachers as real people who are flawed and have
Right.
addictions. And it's very touching because even though he's got this addiction, he still has a heart, he still cares about this one. It's really about the relationship between him and one of his students. And I will, spoiler alert, there's nothing physical about it, so don't worry, it's not going to gross you out.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
It's a great
it's not
movie.
icky in that regard, but there is some emotional intimacy between him and this student, well, anyway, I won't say any more, but you got to see it. It's so great. He is so great in it. And that is my recommendation. And thank you for your recommendations. And thank you for your time. Yeah, we've gone about an hour now, so I think this is a good time to end it. And anything you'd like to say before we end our episode for today?
No, just
No,
happy
thanks for
viewing.
hosting, Laura, again. It's nice
Yes,
talking to
thank
you.
you, Laura.
It's nice talking to you too. Thanks for digging deep on those Oscars. Greg, hope you feel better. And
Yes.
yeah, and so for next week, for anyone who's listening next week, we're going to talk about some of our favorite streaming series. And we will be sure to put in the show notes what those series are. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, you'll know what they are. And I look forward to getting this online so people can hear it. But until then, yes, happy viewing, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.